watching, and I pray that you will use this live to benefit their lives. These prayers and these requests I ask in your name. Amen. So again, thank you for joining me on today for this special episode of Love Talk with Kisha and Debbie, in on the behalf of Domestic Violence Month. Those of you that joined me last night, I did part one, basically going into my testimony, all the way in full in with my family, even allowing them to open up and to share and to encourage me of what they felt as we were grieving the loss of my son back in 2015. So today, part two, we're just going to do a little bit, talk about domestic violence. I'm going to again briefly share a little bit about my story, and then I will go into some encouragement. So I just want to start off with basically sharing what is domestic violence. What is domestic violence? Give me 1 second to make it public on my page. All right, so it is public on my page. So, what is domestic violence? Domestic violence is a violent or aggressive behavior within the home, typically involving the violent and abuse of a spouse or a partner. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over another intimate partner. Abusive domestic violence categories: physical abuse, the pushing, the kicking, the struggling, or any other physical violence; sexual abuse, forceful sex, sexual assaults, sexual threats, and many more; emotional abuse, threats, manipulation, lies, stalking, name calling, and several more; economic abuse, denying access to bank accounts and other financial platforms. So often we take domestic violence lightly. So often we overlook some of the things like the verbal abuse, like the name calling, sometimes pushing, but those things can actually escalate to other situations and actually cause bigger outcomes. So today I just want to share and just ask a few questions just to start off. Um, are you tolerating any level of domestic abuse? Have you thought about have you thought about what have you thought about what if things ever escalated? Have you done some self-reflection on what causes the issue or whatever the actions may be? And are you willing to consider welcoming change to freedom, peace, in a stressful environment? So for me, just to open up, to share my story is October 19th of 2015. I lost my son to domestic violence due to the person that I was in a relationship with. Um, and both of my sons, my 14-year-old son at the time, and then my other son was his early 19, 20, somewhere in there. Both of them were assaulted. My youngest son, that was 14 years old, was stabbed in the chest and never made it. He died at the hospital. My other son, which was older, was stabbed in the shoulder and he survived. However, in that situation, it was very, very painful. It's been a long, um, it's been a long journey. It's been 7 years. It's been long, the grieving process, but I have been trusting God to get me through and to give me the strength that I need to continue to share my story and to encourage other people to along to domestic violence, not just domestic violence, but also within their healing journey, within um, trusting God through whatever process that you need to go through to adhere your process and your journey. So on today, I encourage anyone, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's an addiction, whether it's a relationship, a marriage, a separation, a divorce, whatever it is, I advise you on today, and I cannot stress enough that you find the strength and you find the courage to actually be able to grab onto that process of your healing journey. It is nothing like being able to get to a point where you find complete confidence in yourself. You gain the courage and you gain the trust. You no longer doubt yourself, and you begin to push beyond the pain, beyond the disappointment, beyond everything that has tried to hold you back, the strongholds, the generational curses, the things that the judgment even of others. It's a wonderful thing. Healing is actually a wonderful thing. So on today, to actually share a little bit about me, through the grieving process of my son, I found myself in a place where I did not know where to turn. I tell people, as I said last night, it was never suicide. However, it was the point where I did not understand how I was going to make it. I did not understand how to get my strength. I didn't know where to turn. I was not at that point where I was able to talk or confide in anybody because I was clueless of how to get back on track to survive. The only thing that I could think of was to actually get down on my knees and begin to pray and ask God to give me strength. And with God giving me strength, I was able to sit in my room, as I said last night, and begin to do videos and just encourage myself. And through also going through therapy for almost close to 2 years, I went through therapy. And with getting out of therapy, I decided that I wanted to continue to do videos. God began to give me a vision to do self-love ministry. And I did not really understand the love, and the ministry, the name at first. But God began to break it down recently to me of why he put those words on my mind. So for me, pushing, pursuing, perseverance, all of those things through the pain, you know, um, it's been rough, it's been hard. However, as I was even writing down things this morning, my son passed away October 19th of 2015. In January of 2016, I started Love Talk with Kisha. In January of 2018, I started Sisters United on Purpose, which is a sister support group for women to be able to pull together and just find the help that they need to continue to push amongst their own personal life. I have wrote down all of the dates that I wanted to share. And it went on from there. I became a life coach in April of 2018. I became a life coach. And then July of 2018, I published my first book. And then November of 2022, I purchased my second book. So as you can see, my push, my perseverance has been a continuous healing journey, not just a healing journey, but it's also been an empowering journey to encourage others and to show them like you really can make it if you really, really try, if you really put everything together that you have, even when you don't understand who to turn to, even when you don't understand where it's going to go. The only thing that you actually need is that little bit of faith, that will um allow you to get through. Hi, Kisha. Hi, Alicia. That little bit of faith that will allow you to get through. And you will be amazed of how much strength you actually have when you begin to push. The title of today's show, as you can see, is my underlying strength defined through darkness. And that's just what my story is. I was in a dark place, didn't know how I was going to make it, didn't have any resources. The only thing I knew to do was to get down on my knees and pray. So I just want to take a minute just to talk about the title. The title, My Underlying Strength. Underlying means refers to the basic or root of something. Underlying strength. Someone's strength in a difficult situation is their confidence or their courage. Think of these words: hitting, necessary, crucial, critical, needful. All of those words, I can actually say I felt. I felt that I was in a hidden, in a dark spot. It was necessary for me to push because I wanted to survive. I just didn't know how to survive. It was crucial because my situation, my experience was traumatic, critical, again, traumatic and needful. Thinking about recovery and thinking about just wanting to live again and not wanting to die, not wanting to die. Um, man, surviving. A lot of us are going through so many different situations. We feel closed in, we feel alone, we feel um, stuck, dealing with the strongholds, dealing with the experiences, dealing with the day-to-day challenges that we face. But again, I come to you today to ask you to just trust yourself enough to believe in yourself, to believe that on the other side, you have so much waiting for you. On the other side, there's so much potential for you to tap into. On the other side, there's so much stability. There's so much balance. There's so much motivation and determination. There's so much transformation is awaiting for you on the other side. You're not going to understand it because you haven't stepped into it. You haven't even trust yourself to step into the process. But once you do that, everything, every step, every phase, every level, every stage will begin to explain itself slowly and slowly. Let no one tell you that you will get out of a situation overnight because it didn't take overnight to get into. It takes steps, it takes baby steps. Sometimes it takes us to mess up 4 or 5 times, 20 times before we even get to the next step. But the more that you push and the more that you continue to try, things will begin to line up and you will begin to see God working in your life. There's a couple of scriptures that I want to read because these scriptures actually help me along my healing journey. Sometimes I find myself still going to these scriptures. Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will upload you with my righteous hand. Isaiah 40:29. He gives us strength and power when we are weary and weak. Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And lastly, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. I found myself doing the beginning of my journey. I found myself falling on these scriptures constantly, sometimes posting them on my wall or posting them on my door, posting them somewhere that I could see these things as I was pushing through my hard time. Anyone that has lost a child knows that losing a child is the hardest struggle for me thus far. It's the hardest thing that you could ever experience, and I thank God that God allowed things to turn for the better before my life was taken. I said last night that there were some things that were going on in my household before my son passed away. My household was literally all over the place months before my son passed away, but God was doing his own thing in my son where he began to reconstruct him and guide him, where he was going to church, he was playing football, he was connecting to men that was able to get him on the right track. And it got back to the point where my son began to tell me, actually speak and have a conversation and tell me he loved me. As I said last night, the worst place that I could have ever been in is for my son's life to be taken and to not have those things actually fall into place. So sometimes, even when we don't understand why things have happened or why things are happening, we have to at least be able to look at the good side of things, the things that did progress well, the things that are going well, the things that can strengthen you through that experience, the things that can strengthen you through that walk or through that journey that you are currently experiencing. I heard this earlier this week and I began to write it down. I don't know what I was looking at, but I heard this. And the person began to say that your pain births your purpose, and your purpose increases your potential, and your potential strengthens your push. And I began to actually reflect on that. And I began to actually say, you know what? That is actually true. The pain that I experienced through the loss of my son put me in this very spot today where I am a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm an evangelist. Like, I love to do what I do. My purpose increased my potential because it took away all of the doubt that I ever had in myself, and it began to motivate me. And discipline came along with that, and I became determined to even exceed the things that I once doubted myself to do. And then lastly, the potential, potential, potential strengthened my push. Potential made me go harder at what I do. Potential made me believe in myself. Potential, but allowed me to actually start to create a vision and allow God to confirm the vision. Um, Potential allowed me to just to believe in myself even when I didn't have support, when I didn't know who was going to support me, but I knew that the vision was so deep inside of me that I needed to push. So pain, purpose, and potential, never forget that they work together. They literally work together. And when you begin to allow those things just to play a part in your life and just be able to line up and just go through its stages and just go through the process of whatever your process is, just all I can say is trust yourself and believe in yourself and know that even if you feel alone, you're never alone. Through my experience of losing my son and grieving and continuous grieving, because it's never going to stop. I'm always going to grieve. The holidays are going to come. The birthdays are going to come. The anniversary dates are going to come. This coming Wednesday will be October 19th. That will be the 7th year of me grieving my son. But I know that this 7th year, I feel different. This 7th year, I cannot explain the level of comfort I have in grieving. I felt better last year. Like, I felt last year, I could feel that I was in a different spot. But this year, I actually know that I'm in a different spot. Um, and it's an exciting place to be. It's an exciting experience when you begin to, tap into your own inner healing and begin to address the things, the brokenness inside of you. We, for so long, carry childhood dysfunctional ways or, childhood abuse. And they run over to our teenage stage, to our adult stage, and in our older stages, and we begin to take these things, and these things now begin to fall over into our relationships, and now we wonder why the relationships aren't working, because we never challenge ourselves fully to actually address the issues and the challenges that we have been dealing with for decades and years and months and days or whatever. So I actually encourage everybody that whatever your inner struggle is, whatever your challenge is, like, address it. A lot of times we're looking at other people and we're blaming the other person that this is not working, or this is not falling through. But in reality, there is a part of you that is broken. There's a part of you that needs to be fixed. And the only person that can actually help you fix it completely and fully is God. A lot of times we will turn to our spouses, we will turn to our friends, our BFF, our family. But in reality, confirmation has to come along with that. Discernment has to come along with that. Discipline has to come along with that. Strength has to come along with that. A level of peace has to form from that. And all of those things that I mentioned, your family can't give you, your spouse can't give you, your BFF can't give you, your friend can't give you, and your family can't give you. Only God can give you those things that you actually need to be able to push forward and seek the breakthrough that you really, really need. So today I wanted to share, God had put this on my heart, and I wanted to share my remedy of survival, my remedy of survival. My remedy of survival, first of all, was prayer. Through dealing with domestic violence with my son, and again, having it being the darkest point of my life, never even imagine myself smiling again, um, seeing light again. Didn't even want to be a mother again. I have a 5-year-old son, but I even doubted because of what happened and the guilt and the shame that I felt I contribute to the situation. I didn't even want to be a mother again. And God felt that I was worthy of being a mother again. And now I have a 5-year-old son. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful. But I want to share my remedy of survival. The first thing was prayer. Prayer was the first thing because even when I felt lost and I didn't understand, I knew. I'll back up a little bit. I had already started, as I said last night, I had already started after a long-term relationship went bad, and I found myself falling off track with my self-love and my self-value and my self-worth, getting myself back on track before I got into the situation with this particular person that I was dating. I had begin to initiate love again, begin to love myself, begin to seek and tap back into my self-worth and my value, because all of that went down when the previous relationship went sour. I began to tap back into those things. And as I tap back into those things, I said last night, one of the things that I did not realize is that even when we are connecting with people, dating and relationships, even marriages and you know whatever we're forming, we have to be able to understand that. And I had to understand that even the person that I am connecting with has to have a level of self-awareness about their self. They have to be able to understand their inner struggles. They have to be able to understand the things that they are going through and the challenges that they are dealing with. And so it was prayer through the guilt, it was prayer through the shame that I found myself repeatedly kneeling down at my bed, praying, crying, holding my hands up, asking God to give me strength. That was literally the only thing that I knew. But secondly, it was, and even with prayer, I wrote beside it courage. It was courage. I wrote beside prayer strength and courage, because I was seeking strength, but I needed to take a step I needed to be able to take a step towards courage and believe that even though inside I felt that I was weak and I couldn't imagine myself transitioning into another stage, I had to hold on to a little bit of courage to be able to get me even to the place that I am today. Secondly, it was faith. And beside faith, I wrote change and I wrote breakthrough. Faith, I've always been able to tap into faith, but the level of faith that I needed through my grieving process was a different kind of faith that I needed to tap into. And I needed to tap into the faith where I could actually believe that change was even possible, that me dealing with the emotions, me dealing with the guilt, me dealing with the shame, me dealing with the sabotage, me dealing with all of the different things, I needed to believe and actually like have a sense that change was actually possible. And then I wrote beside faith breakthrough. I actually needed a breakthrough. I was persistent about achieving my breakthrough. And then thirdly, it was fasting. Through these 7 years, I've learned the benefits of fasting. The benefits of fasting when I am feeling very weak, the benefits of fasting when I'm struggling with things in a manner in which I don't understand, and my vision is very cloudy, and my mental process is very disturbing. I know that fasting is beneficial and fasting is healthy, and fasting does bring confirmation, and fasting does help you become closer to the discernment that you need to push forward. And then lastly, it was willingness. Willingness. Beside willingness, I wrote determination, and I wrote determination and I wrote self-commitment. It was determination because even going through the grieving process of losing my son to domestic violence, again, I keep saying the guilt and the shame, because that's what made it really heavy. The guilt and the shame that was pouring on me consistently in the beginning. I needed to get to a point where I was determined that even though I was dealing with grief, and as things begin to continually pile up, because even if you're dealing with one thing, you're still you're still enduring other challenges. So I was dealing with grief, but I was dealing with so many other different things that was piling up and building up. And I needed to become determined that no matter what got in my way, no matter what test came about, what challenge came about, that I wasn't going to give up. And then I wrote beside willingness, I wrote beside that self-commitment. I had to make a commitment to myself that, and the self-commitment came in 2 years ago. Self-commitment just came in 2 years ago in 2020 when I decided to push beyond relationships and men, to not allow my mistakes and to not allow my past choices and my past decisions allowed to keep me in a place where I felt that there was no possibility for transition for me. So my remedy for survival: prayer, faith, fasting, and willingness. All four, which has helped me today become the person that I am. It has helped me become um, a it's helped me become the person I am. It's helped me become personal about myself, to tap into, you know, my dreams and my visions, to trust God through it all, to break away from the strongholds, to break away from the dysfunctional curses, to just believe in myself again. Um, I'm appreciative of the people that constantly tell me like I'm a help to them, I'm support to them. I tell people that what I do is it's not just me giving to other people, but it's a sense of exchange. The more that I encourage you, I will have my days where I will feel weak. I will have my days where I will feel challenged. And I may need you to say, Keisha or Coach K or Evangelist or who, whatever I may be to you, to say that, remember what you told me, remember what you said. Like, I may need to be reminded, because we have those days where we seem to fall into a trap, or sometimes we fall off track. And I'm grateful for just being able to do what I do. I'm thankful for God being able to use me in the way that He has, to be a testimony to other people, to encourage other people through their walk. As I said earlier, your story, your struggle, your challenge, your test may not be domestic violence. It may be addiction. It may be sex. It may be self-identity. It may be divorce. It may be separation. It may be a health issue. It may be a mental battle. But whatever it is on today, I promise you that if you trust God and you include Him in the process, you give Him complete control to lead and to guide you, He will take you down a road that you never imagined. The doors that will begin to open will amaze you. You will begin to amaze yourself of the potential that you have, of the drive that you gain, things will begin to just work together for the good and work together for the better. A little bit more to share about myself before we actually close, because I'm not sure how long I actually have. I wasn't keeping track of time. But um, a little bit about myself, just to let you know that it was to give you a brief recap of my full life. The grief started, I started dealing with grief way before my son passed away. And I want to grab this because I have it. My son passed away in 2015, but there were several people that I lost along the way that actually impacted me so much that it kind of pushed me into a road of a promiscuous lifestyle. It pushed me into a road of, dealing with emptiness and voids and so many different things. I just want to share this so people can actually see sometimes how broken we are and why we have to push so much to actually get to the point that we address that brokenness. In June of 1997, my grandfather passed away. My grandfather was like my first love. I was raised by my grandparents from birth, and my grandfather passed away in 1990, June of 1997. My 25-year-old son was just like a month old then. So that was June of 1997. November of 1997, my biological father committed suicide. Now, little history about my biological father is he was incarcerated most of his life. He got out of jail recently, 3 months before he committed suicide. Around this time of the year, we're even planning to spend Thanksgiving together, Christmas together, all of those holidays, and it never happened. I got a phone call one day that he had hung himself from a tree where he worked at. Then we move on to um, 1997 to 1997 to 2004. I lived a promiscuous lifestyle, avoiding to address my issues. So the grief from my father, the grief from my grandfather, the man that raised me, that I was connected with, because I didn't know where to turn and how to turn, who to turn to, that grief right there pushed me into a whole nother place that I wasn't ready for. July of 2008, I got married. Um, I married my husband who had an alcohol addiction. We were friends for 11 years, lived together for 4, and only married for 7 months before he passed away. A little bit about him: he was dealing with cirrhosis of the liver, and military man, world could be well respected, but he fell into his cycle of depression and never bounced back. And he turned to alcohol as his cope, and he never was able to survive. Going through my struggle of grief and going through my struggle of depression, because of him, I knew where I could end up. So his life, being a part of that experience and seeing him go down that road, it forced me to not give up. It forced me to believe in myself and to push hard. February of 2009, my husband passed away from cirrhosis of the liver after we got married. December of 2009, I entered a new relationship out of depression and grief. May of 2013, past 5-year relationship ended and it crushed me. Mid 2013 going into 2014, I took 1 year to focus on me and understanding my full and complete worth. 2014 into 2015, I started dating again. I began to understand my self-worth and my brokenness, but didn't challenge my partner to do the same. Now we come to 2015, as I just been describing this whole life. Now I'm in a situation where I'm dealing with grief again, and now I lose my son. And that was the worst grief, as I said, that I could ever experience. And that was the grief that had me to say, like, Keisha, we got to get it right this time. Like, you slipped with your grandfather and you slipped with your father and you slipped with your husband. But this grief right here, like, you got to get a hold of it, because if you don't, you're going to lose. And in the back of my mind, as I just said, I'm remembering the road that my late husband went down. And I didn't want to go down that road. So I didn't have a choice but to get my life together. The year of 2015 going into 2016, I faced heavy depression and I began to slip back into a promiscuous lifestyle again. September of 2017, I had my youngest son, which is now 5 years old. Even with this experience of having my son, again, dealing with the grief and depression, that right there even was a battle for me, because I got involved in a relationship in which I wasn't ready for. And now I find myself in this relationship that I've only been in for 2 months, and now I'm pregnant. So now again, I find myself slipping, and I find my mental state now at a point where I feel disappointed in myself. So now I have to push and I have to drive to figure out how to get my life back on track. And it was June of 2020 that I decided to let go of everything and everyone, even the relationship, even the man, even the emotions, even the feelings, even the challenges with my flesh, everything that I was dealing with. And I decided to end the cycle, the repeated cycle that I was enduring through my years. And being 46 years old, just turned 46 October the 7th. I just turned 46 years old. And with this being 7 years that I have been dealing with grief, 7 years of the struggle, as I said last night, 7 is the number of completion. I can actually say that I actually feel complete. I feel complete and I feel free. I feel whole. I feel free of abandonment, grief, the void of not being able to love myself, a promiscuous lifestyle. I feel free of low self-esteem, free of insecurities, free of verbal and physical abuse that I accepted from men, free of the trust issues that I dealt with, free of fear that kept me so long stuck, free of comfort of why I did not move and believe in myself, free of loneliness, and I enjoy singleness, and free of guilt, the shame, and all of those things that mentally kept me stuck. I actually feel complete this 7th year of grieving. It's different. And even through grieving, even when I didn't understand where God was taking me, and I didn't understand how to deal with the emotions and the feelings and all of the things that I was dealing with, I still had to push. I literally still had to push like never before. And I will actually say, for someone that is going through a hard time, you're whatever your struggle is, and I continue to say it, whatever your struggle is, like, you literally have to push like never before. You have to believe in yourself. You have to trust yourself, even when it feels cloudy, even when you don't understand, even when you feel like you're by yourself. You're never by yourself. Like, God is always there. And the thing that I know to be true is that God is just waiting for you to surrender. He is just waiting for you to say yes, to throw your hands up and to say, yes, God, I've tried several times. I've done it several times, but I am tired of this repeated cycle. It's the repeated cycle that keeps us in the place. It's the repeated cycle that keeps us feeling drained, frustrated, unworthy, unappreciated. It's the repeated cycles that we have to break. It's the repeated cycles that we have to become free of. So I pray on today that this live that was dedicated to my son KeShaun, for the celebration of his life, to represent domestic violence as much as I share, has truly been a blessing and has truly been inspiring and encouraging and uplifting to someone who actually need who actually need it. I do what I do for the people that feel hopeless, the people that feel lost, the people who feel like they don't have an answer, the people that have given up, that's about to give up, the people that are close to had. And when I look at myself and I look at my push and I begin to replay in my head how hard the push was, I begin to think about and I begin to, imagine the person that is there. That's where I was several years ago. And I just want to be a blessing to those who actually need support, for those who need encouragement, and for those who actually want to take control of their strongholds, of their challenges and their tests, and just need a helping hand. Just need a helping hand. So that's what I do. That's what I love. As I said, I've enjoyed this live today. I always enjoy, sharing my experiences. I used to be afraid. Used to be afraid to, share my story and to touch on my life. But God has confirmed that sometimes people need to, not sometimes, people need to actually see your walk. You can tell them, but sometimes people just need to see your walk. And that's why I give the glimpse of my life. That's why I occasionally share different things. So people that are experiencing, that are close, that are dealing with those issues will become inspired, will become encouraging, and will be uplifted through my testimony and through my experiences. So on today, I pray again that this live has been helpful. I am going to pray us out of this live, and I thank you for joining me. I am excited. I was nervous to start because it was it was amazing to do this live um, towards the celebration of KeShaun domestic violence, and to do it in a whole new form. Being in the studio, I am gracious to be in the studio, for the door being open to do our Love Talk with Kisha now in the studio. So God has opened up the door, and those of you who was watching us over the year know that we were actually speaking it, that God would open the door for us to be in the studio, and he did just that. So whatever you believe in God for, whatever you trust in God for, you better begin to speak it, because when you speak it and you do what's needed, and you apply yourself, he will actually allow those doors to be open. So I thank you on today for joining me. I am going to pray us out. And again, I thank you for tuning into this live. God, I come to you thanking you for this opportunity. I thank you for the words that you have allowed me to share today with the audience. I pray that the words that I shared, the experiences that I shared, will be impactful of somebody's life, to allow them to understand, no matter how low they may feel, how down they may feel, how stuck they may be feel, whatever, no matter what they've accepted up to this point, there's always a chance for a turnaround. But they have to be able to step into the process with you, and they have to be able to walk into the process with faith and determination, and be able to build up enough discipline to be able to outweigh all of the challenges and the tests that will come, because we know that when we give you our promise and we surrender to you, things will come harder, but things become more manageable with you than we're doing it on our own. God, I continue to pray that you will allow Love Talk with Kisha and Debbie to exceed and to rise and to grow. God, I claim for worldwide. I claim international. I pray for different states. I pray for a bigger audience. I pray for a bigger platform. I pray for a talk show. I pray for all of that. I believe that you can do all of that through what you've already allowed us to do in the midst of um, the rest of the staff, the rest of the team today. I thank you for just giving me the strength to, go out and to carry this live and to be successful and to be empowering, to share with the people. I pray over everyone that's watching. I pray over their families. I pray that you may keep them stable in their physical, emotional, mental stability. I pray that they go without nothing, that you continue to provide everything that they need. I pray that you give someone the mindset and the understanding and the discernment to be able to step into the discovery journey and be able to, admit some things about themselves and do some self-reflection, and even to realize that it's time for a change. It's time to actually start to heal from the brokenness, start to heal from the past relationships, start to heal from the divorce, and to start to heal from the separation, and start to heal from the past hurt and pain that they've been dealing with for so long. I pray that today that this may be a cutoff point for somebody. I pray that when this live ends, they will begin to claim to themselves that they will just be willing to just grab onto a new journey and discover themselves and become more in tune with themselves and love themselves like never before. I pray for that person that feel like that they're so stuck that they can't turn around. I pray that you begin to reconfirm to them that it's always a second chance. God, I ask that you continue to bless my family, continue to strengthen me as I continue to do what you call me to do, the visions that you've downloaded into me, that I continue to carry them out. I pray that you continue to just watch over my boys, watch over my grandkids, watch over my family, continue to keep them free of all hurt, harm, and danger. I continue to thank you for this very opportunity to be able to be in the studio on this first Love Talk with Kisha. I pray that you just continue to open more doors for us and allow us to grow and to be such an inspiring resource to people that need it, and help them in any way to share our testimonies for others to come and be guests and to share their testimonies and be an encouragement to others. God, I thank you on today for everything. I pray that you continue to give me much strength as I approach October 19th, the anniversary grieving day of KeShaun. I pray that you just be with my family, that you give us the strength and the courage that we need to help and support each other. I pray for the loss of other family members that have happened in the last couple of months. I pray that you give my family members strength. I pray that you keep them uplifted and you keep them in the right mind. It is all these prayers and requests I ask in your name. Amen. And I end this live and I say thank you for joining me. Have a good day. I love you and be blessed. Until next time.